Debating has always been a part of discovering which two fictional characters would end up winning in a fight. People put their reputation, knowledge, and favorite character on the line in order to see that character take home the victory. Yet, while it might seem simple, many people don't quite know how to debate, who to debate, or how to prepare for the debate. Luckily, that's what I'm here for, to help you gain the necessary knowledge so that when you debate someone, you don't necessarily win, but you discover the truth, as that is the ultimate goal. Who am I? You can call me Jojo, and while this is a tad bit outside my normal wheelhouse, it can't be that difficult, can it? Anyways, so, I did some research and put together an outline that I think will help people debate effectively. So, that said, enough of the intro, let's start the lesson.
Let's get started, shall we?
The very first and most important thing you need to know is if it's really worth it. After all, there are only a few times you would ever want to debate anyone in the first place. The best reason you might be willing to debate someone is if it's a discussion, not a debate.
Okay, it's worth it.
Debates aren't really designed to solve anything. They're just two people yelling about their point and why it's right. 90% of debates are not going to have an official winner. So, if you do debate someone, it needs to be in a format that you can convince them or they can convince you. But if neither of you are going to budge on where you stand, despite what evidence there is, then there's no point in trying.
It's useless, 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 useless!
The best way to debate is an actual conversation. Another reason you might decide to debate someone is in order to convince the audience, assuming that there is one. In that case, the debate is about countering as many of your opponent's arguments as possible while backing up your own. You don't want to debate someone who you're not going to convince no matter what evidence you have and where there's no audience. There is no point to that. It's literally two brick walls talking. Also, you need to know when not to even attempt to debate.
Don't try it.
Let me put it like this. If someone believes that regular old Batman is capable of destroying a planet, then no amount of evidence or arguing will change their mind. Mostly because they simply believe what they want to believe. You can try and ask questions like, okay, how many buildings has he destroyed? How many moons has he busted? But that's very likely not going to change what they believe because they already believe it without having any solid evidence. So pointing out that there is no evidence isn't going to do anything at all. You might laugh at these people, but it doesn't seem unreasonable to them. For all you know, you could be one of them. It's pretty much impossible to give a generic explanation of these type of people, but it's one of those things that you'll know when you see it. The second major factor in debating is to know your opponent. Once you agree to debate someone, learn them better than you know yourself. If I was going to debate with another YouTuber, I would watch every piece of content that they ever produced several times. I would focus especially on any debates they've done. I would get clips that I think are important, make notes, find ways to counter their most used arguments, as well as learn to tell when they're bluffing or panicking. If this is a versus debate, then know both characters inside and out. Research the heck out of it. If you can know something about their franchise that they don't know, then it gives you more credibility and throws your opponent off.
I admit it, you are better than I am. Then why are you smiling? Because I know something you don't know. And what is that? I am not left-handed.
Don't just get a few arguments and stop there. You need multiple blades ready to go. For characters that have been around for a while, you'll find they often have abilities or skills that people tend to forget about, but could have a massive impact on the fight. See, there are really only 3 levels of debating. The first level includes things like power, speed, durability. You know, the basic stuff. Very rarely does it go farther than that, but when it does, you get into the second tier, and those include things like regeneration and precognition. High tier skills that always take a backseat to the more obvious things. The third line of debating are arguments that are very difficult to argue against, as these are abilities and skills that have a specific weakness or require a unique thing to counter. You want to find a unique argument that doesn't have to be strong, as you can win without being the strongest. Your second blade needs to be one that cuts by precision, not brute force. Arguments that are precise tend to bypass traditional debating strategies and become a splinter at the heart of the conversation.
A simple 10 caliber, nothing fancy, but its minuscule bullets pass easily through muscle and bone to pierce the aorta. Every heartbeat widens the hole until... Well, I'm sure you get the idea.
In my case, when it came to the first Luffy vs Naruto video, I had an entire video of these arguments that I didn't mention. The second video is where I showed them. I imagine that many of you have already seen these videos, but imagine one of these arguments randomly popping up, It would be staggering when you're not expecting it, especially because many of them cannot be countered. One of my favorite arguments is the fact that the vast majority of jutsus in Naruto require specific hand movements to activate. When a character like that is fighting a character that has precognition, they might get 1 or 2 good uses out of that jutsu before their opponent learns to counter it completely. Also, hand motions aren't a hard thing to stop, as all the opponent has to do is disable one of their opponent's hands. That could be breaking a finger, removing the hand entirely, or just rushing them so fast they don't have time to make the sign.
Sorry, was that important?
This is an argument that everyone knows to be true, because in a real fight, even the slightest change to your hand placement could end up being a KO. Hand signs are also not unique to Naruto specifically. It's a standard skill in the world itself. Another example of this kind of skill is the fact that most Bleach characters are invisible, and seeing them requires a very specific ability. I've noticed that when people talk about Bleach characters, they always forget that. So always have a second blade. Even the smallest thing can make the greatest difference.
Even the smallest person can change the course of the future.
It's also really important to know what you know and what you don't know. It's okay if you don't know something. Just say, I don't know about that. I have to look that up. Don't try and argue something you don't know. It doesn't help. If you try to argue something you don't know, people will see that.
Are you making this up as you go?
Ask for evidence. If someone makes a claim, no matter what, ask for evidence. If I say that Luffy is planet level, then I must provide multiple accounts of evidence of him doing such a thing. However, that is where the evidence standard comes into play. What are we considering to be usable evidence? Are we only using the source material? Are we using everything? If we're using everything without any holds barred, Luffy is beyond planet level, as he's fought beside Goku and Toriko on multiple occasions. That's why it's so important to determine what sources are being used for the debate and what the standard is. For me personally, I want to see both characters at their best within reason. I don't think that Goku needs to be involved in Luffy and Naruto, but I think that it would be stupid to dismiss the games and movies. I don't want any questions left unanswered. If Luffy had used this ability or this other skill, would the fight have ended differently? I don't want that. I want to see a true defeat and a true victory. So, if someone makes a claim, make sure they have compelling evidence and that it follows the same standard that you decide on. Next, you must require context. It is true that characters have destroyed planets, stars, and more, but what is the context surrounding that feat? When you remove context, you remove meaning. Selfish mutineer attacks former captain. Son tries to kill father in a fit of rage after father voices his willingness to reunite with his long-lost daughter. Hilarious clown uses volunteer from the audience to make pencil disappear, leaving crowds stunned. You see how important context is? It's so important, and yet everyone seems to remove it easily. This is really as simple as it needs to be. In order to be successful in a debate, you must know what you seek to gain from this debate, if it's worth it, and if it's possible. You must be prepared for it, no slacking. You must set the terms of the debate. You must not let them get away with lying. But the most important thing to remember is, there is no sort of one-size-fits-all template for a debate, as every person and every debate is different. Not to mention that there is a chance you might be on the incorrect side. That's a possibility, you may be wrong. But don't take my word for it, do some research on your own.
This is either madness or brilliance. It's remarkable how often those two traits coincide.
So, that's it guys, thanks for watching, see you next time, remember to stay spectacular, JoJo, out.